Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Earth Central, where we tell the stories of the Earth heroes. And today I have as my guest Luca Barani, who is going to speak about the importance of protecting not just the forests on our planet, but the water bodies. Luca, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you very much for having me. My name is Luca Barani. I am co-founder of Sea the Change, which is an innovative Italian startup with a social vocation. And me, as a background, I am an environmental economist. I studied here in Italy at the University of Bologna. And after I finished my studies a few years ago, I decided with some friend from the university to start this company. And basically, what we do is to help companies to reach their sustainability goals through the protection of marine ecosystems. We decided to work on marine ecosystem first because so far not too many people are doing it, and it's also very important to build an economic bridge to connect, let's say, economic externalities, negative externalities, to the protection of marine ecosystem. And second, because protecting marine ecosystem is one of the most efficient action that we as human society can make to protect and respect our environment.
Gotcha. And I absolutely agree with that. I would be very interested to know what made you decide to go into that area of studies, first of all, and what made you co found the company that you're currently building.
Well, basically, we studied at the University of Bologna, but we were based in Rimini. Rimini is a small town on the Adriatic coast in Italy. So we were really close to the sea, and we have the three of us, me, Francesco, and Alberto, who are the three co-founders. We have a very big passion and love for the sea, and we noticed that so far still there is as I said before, a lack of tools and economic bridges to support the protection of marine ecosystems. So we first, um, let's say, focus on the environmental problem because sea are our, as we say, seas are fundamental allies for our society to fight the most severe consequences of climate change, and we believe that we need to help them to help us. And then we graduated just during the middle of the first lockdown with COVID. So at that time there were no, I don't know, job opportunities, no hope or no anything, especially here in Italy. So we were kind of a little bit low and depressed, like struggling to understand what to do in our life. And then we just made we went out for lunch to a restaurant, and we were discussing a little bit, and we got this small idea. And then we decided, day after day to start working on it a little bit. And after a few months, we managed to be accepted by an European accelerator, Climate Kick, and then they helped us to work a little bit more on the idea, and they gave us some economic support as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there on, we decided to go, let's say, all in on our idea. And actually, after almost 2 years of work, I have to say the startup is going pretty good. And we really believe that our generation, I am around 30, let's say, our generation has a very big responsibility to try to change the economic system and improve it for next generation, because we are probably the last one who can really try to change the economic system so next generation would be able to still be living in a decent place. And to be honest, that's at least for myself, that's a very big part of the strong motivation I have to work as a climate startup every day.
Gotcha. Well, right before we started the recording, we were talking about how, for example, on the country level, you feel like there is not a lot of awareness when it comes, to your country, to Italy, about all things climate change and what actions like normal people can take about it. Could you expand a little bit more on that thought?
Yeah, I totally agree. And actually, the first idea of our startup was to focus first on people. So to give, I don't know, tourists the opportunity to invest in some positive project when they go to holidays in coastal cities. But then we decided, because we feel, I mean, not just us, but also the data and the market shows that people are not really ready to, especially in Italy, to fully understand why it's important to take such responsibilities. So then we decided to focus first on companies, because thanks also to the legislation that is changing at European level, finally, even here in Italy, they are starting to take sustainability much more seriously. Uh, but what we do, for example, also when we work with company, we always try to put some engagement measure in the action we do with companies, because we really believe that especially in this historical period, our responsibility is also to spread awareness about the actual situation, and to, I don't like the word educate, but I think it's also our duty to support the spread of a new culture, so people can also really understand why it's important to do, for example, what we are doing.
Makes sense. Because I think a lot of people, there is a lot of conversation about, protecting the forest, restoring the forest, and all that. But when it comes to the seas, oceans, and all that, I think there is a lot less. And even the term blue carbon seems to be a lot less known. Could you tell me a little bit more how you would describe blue carbon?
Well, it's actually a little bit tricky and complicated, and I think that's a reason why we still have a little, I mean, way less awareness about this term. Because when it comes to, I don't know, planting a tree, I think, thanks God, right now it's pretty widespread, the idea that it's a good action. So you plant a tree and you're doing something good for the planet. But actually, seas and the ocean in general, they absorb almost one third of the CO2 emission emitted each year by our economic system. And they do it through, so far we are working in the Mediterranean area. So I will speak a little bit more about the Mediterranean Sea. And here in the Mediterranean Sea, there are some ecosystem in the ocean and in the seas that absorb CO2 and are aquatic plant or algae. And because of also climate change, the rise of water temperature and of the level of acidification of ocean, unfortunately, these ecosystems are, let's say, dying at a faster rate. So the blue carbon credits, for example, we deal with, are generated through specific measures that can protect and support the conservation of this ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we help them to keep doing what they have done until, I don't know, they are existing. And yeah, and of course, then it's like some other type of carbon credits. There is a third entity that certify the process, and then they become like proper and actual financial tool for companies who wants to compensate a little bit the emission they generate.
Honestly, that's crazy. I feel like this is the first time I've heard this figure that they're absorbing one third of all of the emissions. I mean, this is not widely spread at all, because it just. I think most of the people, well, definitely outside of this area, or even me, because I've been at this for a year, I still have not seen this, that actually algae and all that absorbing 1/3. This is eye-opening for me, and I hope for everyone listening too. I have a
Well,
question, a more like, I guess, scientific or technical question. So when that ecosystem dies, when algae dies, it means they would release all the carbon back into the atmosphere.
uh, well, if they die naturally, actually they stock the carbon in
Like at the
marine
bottom.
on the bottom of sea, let's say. But if they don't die, let's say nature, because they are like small algae. For example, we work on this project which is in the Venice Lagoon, and here we have macroalgae that they naturally die and reborn each 6 months. So that's one reason why, for example, they are much more faster or more efficient with respect to trees to absorb CO2, because they do, let's say, in 1 year they do 2 cycles at least, while usually trees just one. The problem is that if those ecosystems die, they stop absorbing CO2. So, and usually, especially here in the Adriatic Sea, it's not just, I don't know, few plants or few algae dying, but usually it's the whole ecosystem. So we already have some area in the Adriatic Sea, especially in the wetland, that area in between rivers and seas, in which, as I said before, because of consequences of climate change, entire part of the sea are dying. So in that case, those ecosystems, they not only won't be able to absorb CO2 anymore, but they would probably even release some, I don't know, bad gases or pollutants that maybe they were stocking and keeping before.
So, what can we do to protect those ecosystems?
That's a very good question. Now, it's not easy because when it comes to sea and ocean in general, we still lack a lot of data. That's one reason why, for example, the biggest institution in the world are investing a lot of money to, I don't know, be able to cover a lot of area of seas and ocean we still don't know anything about, because each part of the sea is a little bit, let's say, different and special. But what we are doing, for it, I can tell you about our experience. What we are doing is we are helping this project next to Venice, which is, let's say, a very big part in between river and sea, but which is, let's say, closed. So somehow, through satellite data, we can measure what's happening inside that area of lagoon. Thanks to that, we have a lot of data from the past, and we try to keep some variables aligned with the, let's say, the past values, because we know that with those values, ecosystem can, let's say, work very efficiently. And we do it basically by playing with the equilibrium of water from rivers and salt water from the sea. So to make it simple, sometimes we add some more water to from rivers to reduce the overall temperature of the water,
Okay.
and so to keep those ecosystem alive.
Okay. You mentioned the satellites. Are there like certain indicators that help you assess, I guess, the health index of the area of the water?
Yeah, for now, of course, I don't know. As I said, the rate of acidification, that's really important because, I mean, the area where we work, it's quite acid, but it can't be too acid because otherwise, as I said before, the whole ecosystem may collapse. And, of course, especially the temperature of water.
Gotcha. I mean, and these are just the two variables, right? Because I feel like if we take into consideration pollutants and everything else that can find its way into the water, that's where I guess it gets very complicated.
Yeah, exactly. And let's say we are at the beginning of this blue carbon even studies and data. There are a lot of things we still don't know, and hopefully with the help of university and research center, we will be able to get more information in future and also to work even more efficiently. But so far, the area where we work, we know that it's not, I mean, let's say not too polluted in the sense that it's, let's say 20 kilometers far from Venice, and that area of the lagoon, it's still, let's say, in a good condition, also thanks to the work of, for example, our partners on the fields that do all these kind of activities.
Gotcha. Do you have any more projects that are upcoming that you could tell us about?
Yeah, we are working also in Barcelona with Posidonia oceanica, which is, let's say, one of the most important ecosystem in the Mediterranean Sea. And for example, what we are doing there is to right now to map and protect some aquatic forests, because basically they are really aquatic forests. And we hope in some years to be able to have the right data, basically the conversion rate that will tell us how much CO2 is absorbed by those aquatic forests, and then also generate carbon credits from those from that area, so we can provide some more financial support to the protection of the area. But our plan is to, in the next year, in next years especially, is to increase the number of our projects, starting from south of Italy and maybe France as well.
Yeah, I think France could use some more awareness about the topic. Um, just one question before I expand on that. So, when you say aquatic forest, is that the same as mangroves or is that different?
Okay, mangroves are more usually they are based in some oceanic um, ecosystem, let's say. Here in the Mediterranean Sea, we have the Posidonia oceanica, which is still a plant. It's not an algae, but it's all under the level of water. It's not like mangroves. Usually, they are in
Ah,
between.
so okay, okay, I see. Okay.
And the problem with those plants is that most of the time are, let's say, ugly. And so people, especially in beautiful coastal location, people they just throw them away
Okay.
because of tourism and because they want beaches to look prettier. But actually, they have a very fundamental role in the support of the overall equilibrium we have in the Mediterranean Sea.
Wow, I didn't know that. And I bet not a lot of people know that either. I think there is like a widespread knowledge about corals, right? And the role
Mhm.
that they play and, how important it is to protect them. But aquatic forest is not something that comes up often at all.
No, it's a little bit, let's say, complicated even for us to communicate, because we are, let's say, one of the first startup in Italy at least that is trying to really focus only on the protection of marine forest or ecosystem. But we really believe that we need more people to work on the topic, so we can, let's say, move faster towards a culture that can really understand the role of sea and ocean in our life.
You know what you said at the very beginning, basically that when you first wanted to build a startup, you wanted to focus on people because that's where it starts with. Because when we think about it, it's mostly businesses now that are focused on, the whole sustainability aspect. And this is how I want to bring it back to France. So in French, there is no such a word as sustainability. There is a word durabilité, which quite literally means durability. So there is not even like a concept that where you can communicate sustainable, because for them it just like equals durable, which kind of makes sense, right? So that will last. But at the same time, it just like blows my mind that conceptually in this language, that word doesn't even exist. Is that like, what is it in Italian?
Okay, in Italy, probably now we have different problem, and the problem we have right now in Italy is that there are even too many people using that word.
Okay.
Because in Italian is sostenibilità, which is really close to English. But right now, even in the business area, the culture and the knowledge behind that term is pretty low. And so there are a lot of bad example of communication,
Mm-hmm.
like of the principle of sustainability. And I think we should be we should care a lot about that, because we are in a very important historical phase, and we really need to, when we communicate and when we try even to, let's say, educate people, we really need to do it in the right way. First, because otherwise we would, people wouldn't trust the whole sector, let's say, but also because we don't have much time to make, again, so many mistakes. So it's the time to do things properly.
Right, that's true. Um, as we're coming to an end of our interview, I wanted to ask you what would be like a couple of things that you could communicate to just normal people, like the actions that they can take or not take, like things that they should be doing in order to take small steps so we can all get to a big result.
In general, or about C?
Okay, let's do one general and one C.
Okay. One general. Okay, let's start from the C, because I have a good one. Not a good one. I have one that for me it's really basic, but a lot of people still don't get it. And it's about smoking. When you smoke a cigarette, and some people sometimes they just like to throw it, I don't know, or on the street, or even, I don't know, in a small river next to city or villages. They usually don't get that those cigarettes, most of the time they will go just straight to the ocean and to sea. So it's not such a big step to just keep yourself. Even better if you could stop smoking, but if you can't,
Right.
just keep the cigarette in your pocket and then remember to throw it, I don't know, in a proper trash. That's a very small action, but still, um, it's one of the most pollutant, let's say, derived from human activities that we find in the ocean. And in general, I think it's very important to, of course, focus on small action we can do every day. For example, use a little bit less the car, more public transport, eat less meat, or I don't know, be a little bit more aware of the use we do of electricity and so on. But I think it's also very important, and it should be on the same level to somehow get engaged. So I don't know. I don't think all of us we need to have some kind of political stand or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. But still, find people in your area, group, association, or whatever that somehow are trying to do some activities connected to sustainability or to a new culture of, let's say, climate and environmental protection. Because we really need. This is a crisis that we can't solve by ourselves. So we need to be together and work as a team and as groups.
I think that's a very good advice. Just basically coming together as a community is something that I think is missing most of the time, because, there is this saying that like it takes a village to raise a child. I think it's like takes a village to save the planet, right?
Exactly. And I think it's also a really good opportunity to, bring a little bit back some new kind of sense of community that probably we are, at least here in Italy, we are losing quite, not a bit, quite fast. and that could be a really good opportunity to learn to take care once again of our community and of the place that surround our places.
Right. I absolutely agree with that. Well, Luca, it's been a pleasure having you today. Thank you for coming to our podcast, and I wish you success with your projects. And hopefully, I'll be able to hear about them soon enough.
Thank you very much for having me, and it was a big pleasure also for myself. So I hope to, I don't know, somehow meet in future somewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you.